she hit me like that. Oh, that. Full force and she got me like that. I be like that. Baby, why you so fine? Got to make you mine. So hard to find. Baby like, oh, how'd you do the thing? The way that you do it and she ain't even show nothing. She be walking around so confident, so heaven sent. I think she was meant to knock them daylight. Like, girl, you so fine. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah. Girl, you rockin' like ooh. Sublime, super fine. She was never lying, strutting in the heels or her slides. Either way, eyes on her every single day, week, year. Everyone wondering how she does it with no fear. All that confidence, was it heaven sent? Does it come within? Does it come run out? I don't know. She'll just have them running out and in, and they want to sin, talking deadly sin with Mrs. Lady. I don't understand why she hit them like girl, you knock 'em dead. Oh, oh, oh. How you do the things you do?
You know, yeah, you know what me say? Fucking haters, you know. Hey, I'm blind to you, haters. Can't touch me, war instigators. Me say we busy love lately. Ask you how the world a run so. Said I'm blind to you, haters. Can't touch me, rumor creators. Me say we busy love lately. Hey, ask you how the world a run so. When things stop pop off, them a smile and a laugh. Them woulda love to see you fall by the wayside. Them all a dig up your past, pray for you don't fall fast. And trigger mode from blast like them nana pride. Blessed love to the youth them. When they touch them better, feel nothing no way. Send out message to the youth them. Praise the Almighty, don't go astray. Said I'm blind to you, fucking haters. Can't touch me bullshit creators. Me say we busy love lately. Ask you how the world a run so. Said I'm blind to you, haters. Can't
Stuff.
yeah. Yeah. This one right here. There. You dig? Check it out. Now I ain't trying to be the greatest. I used to hate hip-hop. Yep, because the women degraded, but Too Short made me laugh. Like a hypocrite, I played it. A hypocrite, I stated, though I only recited half. Omitting the word bitch, cursing, I wouldn't say it. Me and dog couldn't relate till a bitch I dated. Forget my favorite word for hers and hers alike, but I learned it from a song I heard and sorta liked. Yeah, further ice and glamorized drug dealing was appealing, but the block club kept it from in front of our building. Gangsta rap based filmings became the building blocks for children with leaking ceilings, catching drippings with pots, coupled with college and ignorant wisdom and artistic vision. I began to jot, tap the world and listen. It dropped. My mom can't feed me, my boyfriend beats me. I have sex for money, the hood don't love me. The cops wanna kill me, this nonsense built me, and I got no place to go. They bought my village.
They call us killers, it's me off they welfare. Can't afford they healthcare. My teacher won't teach me, my master beats me, and it hurts me. I had to get a boy bop, a Jay-Z boycott, cause he said that he never.
Okay, family. Glad to be back with you. Had to do a whole new setup, so I'm trying to make sure it works right. Sound like something a little off with my sound as I listen to the speaker button. Okay, we're gonna get this party started. Yo, that really does sound like a loud echo and not coming through. The way I needed to. But that has to be one way to get the show correctly. So. Yeah, I don't know what that is. How we got so much background noise. I'm telling you, my noise cancellation off. It's probably part of my new setup. So, like I said last week, Tuesday, we couldn't even do the show because my sound was so bad. But I figured out what it was when my sound wasn't working at all. My cords are done. So once I unplugged that cord, it got back to business. Yeah, I can literally hear the cars driving by, everything. That's crazy. Now, I didn't know how I was gonna sound fully until I got on here. That's why. Okay, well, we're gonna get this party started. Hopefully, and like I said, I'm glad that we got some sound. I'll continue to work on it so it'll be a little better. You know, we haven't had sound issues in a long time. Part of it is update, so I actually got it connected to my soundboard is connected to my computer by Bluetooth currently. So it also allows me to do some other stuff when I connect to Bluetooth. So I actually connected my Spotify. So y'all were hearing what I listen to as I'm getting ready for the show. But glad we got something going today. And like I said, we'll figure the rest out. So y'all will hear what I listen to as I'm getting ready for the show. That's the delay that you hear that we talked about. That I told you about that I can notice that you got, but you don't notice that you got because you're doing your own thing. Oh, I forgot I got my do-rag on my head just looking gangsta. I had a busy day today. Wound up working with some clients, doing a training on team building and how it benefits your management systems. It was actually a good training. Got to see some people I hadn't seen in a while. And one of them actually made me feel a little bit good because she was like, I've been following you. And it was so good because I worked with them and I was exactly direct. But then one of them was like, I thought I know you went to South Carolina. I said, I did. And I did a couple of things in South Carolina. And then I started working with another organization in the Feds, so now I do stuff regionally, not nationally. I guess I'll work my way up to nationally, maybe, because I did nationally before, and that was just too much for me. Just always on the road. I would consider something international, but you know, I make a lot of gut-based decisions, so that feels good to me. The element for that is fire, which has been funny because I talked to the clients today and I gave them one of my favorite quotes and they laughed because I told them it's from Beverly Hills 90210 and Dylan said it. But it is, may the bridges I burn light my way. That's one of my favorites because some bridges I'm never going back across, nor do I want anyone from the other side of that bridge to come across that bridge. We will continue reading our book, Makes Me Wanna Holler. I love 4 affirmations, the bowl, and then we get started continuing with Makes Me Wanna Holler. So we're gonna start with the bowl today. I got the rain stick again too, because you know I love the rain stick. Yeah, and that thing works. So we're gonna start with the bowl that is set to the frequency of your solar plexus. Hope that is starting to get you in that calm mood. As we add my favorite instrument. TikTok, I see you. I appreciate you joining. So we're going to start our breathing exercise. We're going to do, as I stated earlier, 4-4-4. That is, you breathe in 4-4 count, you hold 4-4 count, and then you breathe out 4-4 count. I will keep the count, so all you have to do is just listen to the sound of my voice and focus on your breathing, your breath work. Allow yourself to be present in this moment and to receive whatever you need to receive. So on my count of 3, remember you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and then out for 4. All right, so let's get started. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Last time. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. All right, now I want you to clear your mind. We're going to do I ain't even gonna lie, since I talked about my favorite poem was The Bridge that we're burning. Imagine yourself standing on this wooden bridge. It can be one of those horror movie bridges with looks kind of like a barn with the bridge running through it, or it can just be an open bridge where you can look at the landscape. But imagine yourself standing on this bridge, right? And on this bridge, you have a box. And in that box, I want you to begin starting to put everything that you want to leave behind from your old self. I want you to put your fear in that box. I want you to put your doubt in that box. I want you to put your altered world view in that box. I want you to put the pain of your traumas, the experiences of disappointment and disapproval. I want you to put those things in that box, right? And as you are putting them in that box, I want you to remind yourself for every piece that you lay in that box that you need to be releasing those pieces from your spirit, right? We're searching for freedom. You're searching for freedom. You want freedom through release. So put all of those things in that box. And in that box, and on that, walking to the other side of the new you at the end of that bridge. And once you soon, as a reminder for where you've been, but knowing that you will no longer go or reside on whatever's on the other side of that bridge, right? Now, as you're looking at that bridge, I want you to, with all your hopes and dreams, pull out a lighter, a match, one of those barbecue child safety is like a little trigger, anything that you can think of. And as before you strike that lighter, I want you to start speaking what you want to have in your life. I want you to speak power into your life. I want you to speak the energy that you want to have in your life. Speak it. And as you speak it over that fire, I want you to light that bridge and burn it up. Burn all of those things that you put in that box. Burn that pathway that the light is supposed to be in. I want you to watch these things burn up in flames. And as you watch those flames rise, I want you to feel a sense of release in your spirit with every crackle that you hear, the sound of that flame, with the smell of that smoke. I want you to hear and see that past disappearing from you. And as you turn around and look forward to your future, I want you to repeat these affirmations after me. I am confident. I act with courage. I am a powerful being. I am motivated, persistent, and successful. I honor myself. I am confident. I act with courage. I am a powerful being. I am motivated, persistent, and so some of those things, that activity will help you get your chakra in alignment, help you get a little more energy. The solar plexus is good for your motivation, your confidence, your empowerment. It works with your self-esteem. If you have some dealings with aggressiveness, it rides in your solar plexus. So funny, as a matter of fact, when I do Reiki sessions on people, one of the places I always find everybody's anger residing in their stomach. And I have one of the brothers in my tribe in Strength and Brotherhood. He focuses on spinal flow. And one of the things he lets you know is that we hide our anger in our kidneys. So if you have some side issues, then on the side, it may be an anger, an emotional release that you need. All right. So I look forward to continuing on Tuesday, us continuing how innocence lost, how trauma steals our innocence, and ways that it manifests in our life. And then we'll begin things that we need to do to release those traumas, those negative perceptions, all of those things. And then we'll move on to, what are we going to talk about? Normalize dysfunction, the way we've normalized dysfunction in our life. It's funny because I was talking to one of my clients, and I made another one cry. As a matter of fact, the lady who said that she was following me, she was like, I seen them trying their best not to say that the job was burning them out, right? Certain jobs, the expectation is that you work 70, 80 hours, and that's the expectation. And as a person in the career field of a job like that, it is easy for you to normalize that working that much is the pathway to success. But it is a pathway to a burnout. And as she burning out, and I stopped her, and I told her to use the right words, because if you tune in on Tuesday, we talked about how if we're not using the right terms or going down the right path, we may be giving ourselves medicine, our body's medicine, that we don't need, right? So back to Makes Me Wanna Holler, one of my favorite books. We are at the point where he actually is back. He went to the black school. He spent his time experiencing desegregation at a predominantly white school. And he just wound up getting to a point where his parents saw the difficulties he was having, and they moved him to the the neighborhood school, which had more black people in it because he lived in a predominantly black neighborhood. And ironically, when it comes to educational, for a person of color to be successful in an environment, they need to have the population to be about 13% that looks like them. But ironically, at that same 13% number, that's when that experience of flight, when people start moving out the neighborhood, begins, right? So he just talked about the Converse sneakers and how cool they were. We learned about what they call it, jonesing. But, they call it dirty dozens, jonesing. You got clowning, whatever else. You know what it is, where you just running jokes on each other. So, all right, chapter 5, hanging. I hung around my locker, stalling until the morning lay bell rang. The hallway cleared as students went into their homeroom classes. I ducked into the boys' bathroom near the main hallway exit door at the back of the building and waited for Chip, Cooter, and the others who were supposed to meet me there. We planned to leave school and go to the turkey buzzard's house for a few blocks away to shoot pool while his parents were at work. After a few minutes, Cooter hurried in looking panicked and said, "Where's everybody?" I hunched my shoulders. "I don't know. I ain't see nobody when I came in the door." Cooter grew even more nervous. "We gotta hurry up. Get out of here. Mr. Blair's walking the halls." I got scared. Mr. Blair often patrolled the halls to make sure students went to class on time. Tall, heavy-set, and stern. He was intimidating. He ain't play. He just as soon paddle your butt as take you to the principal's office. Minutes later, Chip heard in the bathroom, waved his arm at Cooter and me and said, "Come on, we got to get out of here. Mr. Blair's coming." We must have looked like the Three Stooges bumping into each other trying to rush out of there. I'd step out the bathroom and push against the rear exit door to make my dash when I heard a booming voice behind me. "Stop right there. Don't you dare go through that door." I froze, glanced at Cooter and Chip, then turned around and looked sheepishly at Mr. Blair, who was bearing down on us from about 20 feet up the hall. We were busted cold. Mr. Blair took us to the principal's office, scolded us along the way. The principal suspended us for 2 days and sent us home with notes for our parents to sign. Walking home, I got scared when I thought about what my parents would say and do. A suspension would bring guaranteed whooping from my stepfather and probably confinement to the house for a week or two. The other dude asked, "Shit, man, don't worry about what your folks gonna say. Why you gotta tell them? We can simply do what we were planning to do in the first place. Hook school and go shoot some pool. All we're gonna do is wait till Turkey's parents go to work, then go over there and shoot pool and hang out for the next 2 days." Somebody said, "What about the notes we gotta get signed?" Man, we can sign them effing notes for each other. Facts. I still use some of them ideas today. Said it seemed like a good idea. It was one of the things that made me glad I hooked up with dudes like Cooter. During those 2 suspension days, we met on Roosevelt Boulevard, about a block from Water, and wandered around Cavalier Manor, keeping an eye out for truant officers and nosy neighbors, killing time until we were sure Turkey's parents were gone for the day. Then we went over there, shot pool, watched TV, plundered Turkey's refrigerator till it was time to go till school let out. Then we went home to our parents and pretended we just came in from school. Just like Cooter predicted it worked out fine. We had a ball. We were hanging. By the time I reached the 7th grade, I learned that a dude's life had no meaning unless he hung with someone. You had no identity if you didn't belong to a group. When I first got to Waters, I'd ask classmates the names of slick dudes I saw around the school, and they'd always identify them by the group they'd hang with. They'd say, "That's Lil Blunt. He hangs with Kenny Banks." Now at age 12, I was trying my damnedest to hang loose with the group and get with the styles. I picked up a few decent rags from my brothers to shed that nerdy look, and finally got my first pair of All-Stars, a well-worn pair of black high tops that Dwight gave me. They were still too big for my size 6 feet, but I doubled up on sweat socks and tightened the fit. Imitating Scooby-Doo's brother Arnold, I walked around with one peg leg rolled up so the blue star on the sneaker's ankle was in full view. I played those All-Stars so hard and watched them so much that the black color turned faded gray. I also got waves in my head. I got a pair of my mother's old stockings, cut them, knotted the legs, and put 2 stocking caps on my head instead of 1. Seldom did a night pass without me pulling those stocking caps over my head to work on my waves. It felt like pressure from those 2 stocking caps compressed my skull, but the headache it gave me seemed worth the results. I also worked on my pen. When walking down the halls at school, when walking home, anytime I thought about it, until I got it down so tight it fit my normal walk. My pen became so much a part of me that the years later, when I grew up and tried to get rid of it, I'd stumble sometimes trying to walk straight. I hung with Cooter and Chip in school because they were in my homeroom class. Had an uncle who hung with Scooby-Doo. Cooter had an in with the hip crowd because he lived near respected hoods who also hung with Scoob. The first time I met Cooter, I knew he was hip. He had on a pair of ragged, oversized, white high-top All-Stars and baggy sweat socks that drooped down over them. He was pimping hard down the hallway between classes singing Expressway to Your Heart. A short, stocky, light-skinned dude with a serious, most guys our age. At 12, he had the older guy slang and manner down tight and had gotten an early jump on the rest of us as an accomplished thief. A lot of his rags were too big because he stole them off people's clothesline and wore them to school. Cooter taught me how to gamble in the boys' bathroom. We pitched pennies with other dudes, and whoever landed his clone closest to the edge of the wall collected the money. Eventually, I got good enough at it to win money to buy my lunch at school. With 5 boys, 4 of them in school, my mother couldn't afford to give each of us 35 cents to buy lunch every day. She usually packed me a sandwich and cookies and a piece of fruit and sent me to school with a brown bag lunch. Dudes, all the hip folks bought hot plates. I got a complex and stopped brown bagging it, so I gambled hard. If I didn't win, I didn't eat. Sometimes, though, I won enough money to buy hot plates all week. Chip, Cooter, and most of the other guys I fell in with were from the new families moving into my expanding section of the neighborhood. We started out as a loosely knit group of restless adolescents who shared a passion for sandlot sports. The ties we formed playing football, basketball, baseball evolved into friendships, and we started hanging together away from. Hanging with Chip, Cooter, and the others, I grew wilder. As we entered the 8th grade, we threw spitballs and pinched girls' butts in class. We went on Friday afternoon sock hops and raised hell in the halls. Just for fun, we tripped people walking down the aisles in the class and make them stumble. Then we burst out laughing. I got suspended from school for tripping one girl who fell over several desks and chipped a bone in her arm. In general, hanging out solidified the bond with Frog, Dickie, the shortest amongst us, Beamish, Tony, and Shane, the loudest, and Turkey had earned his right to hang with us by being able to hurt guys on the football field. Everybody wanted to earn a rep for being able to hit hard and mess somebody up in sandlot. Turkey was the best. He speared dudes and sent them flying in the air and crashing to the ground. He gave guys broken arms and swollen heads. He tackled me so hard once that I thought I was permanently paralyzed. It was the first time I ever rode in an ambulance. Through those guys, I discovered the strength and solace of camaraderie. It was a confidence booster, a steady support for my fragile self-esteem. Alone, I was afraid of the world and insecure, but I felt cockier and sure of myself when I was hanging with my boys. I think we all felt more courageous when we hung together. We did things in groups that we never try alone. The group also gave me a sense of belonging. It was the accepted norm. There was no fear of standing out, feeling vulnerable, exiled, or exposed. That was the comfort even my family couldn't provide. After I started hanging, the purpose of school changed completely for me. It seemed more like a social arena than a someplace to learn. The academic rigors lost their luster, and the reward of making the honor roll just wasn't the same. Suddenly, I didn't want to be seen carrying an armload of books. I felt too self-conscious to join in class discussions. I sat in the back of the room with the hard dudes, laughing, playing, and joning the nerves. In the summertime, the gang's favorite hangout was a spot at Bimbo's crib. Bimbo, who got the nickname in a Jonas session on when somebody said he looked like Big Dumb Elephant, was tall, fat, and insecure. That's why they call him Bimbo instead of Dumbo. At the age 13, he was somewhat shy and made friends by giving people whatever he had, money, food, anything. When he told us that both his parents worked days, we turned his crib into Party Central. One by one, the fellas would start showing up there close to noon each day, ignoring the shrill protests of his younger sister. "I'm gonna tell mama." We made sandwiches and cooked pancakes, propped our feet up on Bimbo's mama's best furniture, listened to music, called girls on the phone, and generally enjoyed the soothing cool of their central air until the evening when it was time for his parents to return. Then we dashed, spilling into the streets in search of adventure. Like young lions, we staked out our own turf under shade trees on the corner of Roosevelt Boulevard, and spent endless hours there, lolling, posturing, lying, wrestling, and gambling. That corner became our operations center, the point from which all activities flowed. It became our school, our home away from home, our starting point and checking point. Our rowdy presence there posed problems for Mr. Miller, the man who owned that lot, which he carefully maintained. Over time, we trampled that corner of his lawn into a hard-ball patch of dirt, which we used as a board for crap games. Often, Mr. Miller would come charging out of his house in Bermuda shorts and slippers, cussing, raising hell, and threatening to shoot us with the gun we never saw. He said, "Get off my damn grass. If you come here by here again, I'll bust a cap in you." He ran us off many times, but we paid him back as often, returning that night to egg his picture window and splatter his car. After a few years later, when we got bigger and badder, we didn't even bother to run when Mr. Miller came outdoors. We just stood there and stared him down, forcing him to call the cops to run us off. Eventually, we got so big and so bad that Mr. Miller didn't even bother to come out at all. When we weren't retaliating against Mr. Miller, we crept through backyards to the houses of girls we knew and peeked in their bedroom windows. Y'all was interesting. Sometimes, while we were shortcutting through backyards at night like that, people called the cops on us or came out and chased us themselves, pitting their rage against our youthful patience of tall fences and savage dogs. We knew where the clothesline hung and remembered when to duck. Police and adult neighbors foolish enough to try to catch us always ran the risk of catching those taut wires around right across the Adams apple. We'd hear a painful groan, glancing back, see feet flying, followed by a heavy thud of an adult body slamming to the ground. After we escaped, the fellas and I would laugh so hard our stomachs ached. We also made nighttime foraging missions in search of unchained bikes, and in the wintertime, cut through the liners in our coat pockets to make it easier to steal from the 7-Eleven. We walk into the store 3 or 4 at a time and fan out throughout the aisles. There was no way the store clerk could catch us all at once. As soon as the clerk's eyes focused on people at the counter, we stuffed our pockets with Almond Joys, Clark bars, Reese cups, and Hershey bars. One day, when we were walking home from the golf course department store, we split up, cruising the aisles where the food was kept. I picked up a pack of peanut brittle. An ordinary customer came up to me and said, "Come here, son. Come in the back of the store with me. I want to talk to you." He grabbed me before I could take off running. When I got caught, the rest of the gang scrambled out of the store. The white man took me to the back room where some other grown-ups were waiting. They kept me back there forever. I waited in that room, crying and wishing I could take back the moments before I was caught. It was a feeling I would come to recognize. After a while, a policeman came in, led me outdoors. I had a marathon whooping coming at home. My mind raced ahead to the telephone call that had probably already been made to my parents. My mother and stepfather came to the police station. My stepfather kept a straight face, like he was more concerned than mad with me. He never showed his real concern about the thrashing I had coming from my stepfather than anything else. Tall, dark, and muscular, my stepfather had always looked like a charcoal Muhammad Ali, and it seemed he could hit just as hard. When we got home, he said, "Go to your room and wait for me." A minute later, he came in and stood over me carrying a belt so fat it looked like a razor strap from the barbershop. And me running for cover. He beat me forever, then put me on punishment. I went to juvenile court and was placed on probation. On the way home, Mama made vague references about me being sent to a home for bad boys if I continued to steal. I think the whole ordeal was an eye-opener for my parents, who perhaps realized for the first time that my innocence was gone. I had been changing right up under their nose, and they hadn't known, because parents have a tendency to get caught up in their own responsibility. that they can easily overlook the changes that are happening right around them. Right? Much children was making sure they were clothed, fed, and protected. Food, clothing, shelter. Protected is loose. Food, clothing, shelter. That is raising kids. As long as you got food, as long as you got clothes, you got a roof over your head, they feel like they did their job, for real, for real. They didn't focus much on us unless we were sick or had done something wrong. Exactly. They didn't hold conversations with us. Love was understood rather than expressed, and values were transmitted by example, not word of mouth. I could tell my stealing confused my parents. That wasn't the kind of example they had set for me. It wasn't like I had to steal. We weren't dirt poor. My folks didn't understand what I know now. My stealing had nothing to do with being hungry or poor. It was my stepfather might not have known all the wild stuff that was happening out there, but he had a sense enough to know that it wasn't good. That's why from day one, he did all he could to keep my brothers and me from hanging on the block. Early on, before I even had an interest in hanging, my stepfather imposed curfews on my brothers and me to keep us on the leash. The curfew was 9:30 on school nights and 11:30 on weekends and summers. My old man didn't play with that curfew. If you were 5 minutes late, you broke a curfew and had to answer to him. Several times he clashed with Billy, Junie, and Dwight over that issue and won. In fact, the curfew was partly responsible for Junie leaving home. He came in late from seeing his girlfriend one night, and my stepfather pounced on him. Junie was 17. I must have been about 13. I remember being in the bed, being awakened by my stepfather's voice, a calm, even tone that never rose more than a decibel or two, even when he was fiery mad. I thought I told you to be in by 11:30. Junie tried to explain. I thought it was. His words were cut off by a noise that sounded like a thud of a boxer throwing body shots against a punching bag. Junie must have tried to throw a few blows himself because I heard a rumbling sound, like there was a slight tussle in the hallway. But it didn't last long. My old man dusted him off and sent him wailing and hurting into the bedroom that he shared with Billy, Dwight, and me. Junie left home and joined the army soon after. When I started hanging, that's the same thing, pretty much similar happened to my brother. When I started hanging, my stepfather imposed a curfew, tried to reel me in, but it wasn't that easy. I was just getting into the party groove and was more defiant than any of my brothers. I launched into what provoked a serious test of wills between my stepfather and me. I went to every party I wanted to and came home on time only when the party was dying or the crowd was dead. If the party was jumping, the dancing was good, and the girls were fine, I'd stay until it was over and take the heat. That's all that winds up happening when you take that approach. Children just wind up deciding on if it's worth the punishment, and plenty of times they'll decide it is. Confinement to the house or maybe more. I was determined to do what I wanted to, and he was determined to control me or break me trying. As a result, I spent almost as much time in prison. It nearly drove me crazy being locked up like that. Eventually, I got tired of him trying to push me around, even if I was only 14 years old. Like Junie, I decided to leave home. I had no idea where I was going. I just left and told myself, I ain't going back. I'm tired of taking orders from him. I telephoned Baba King, a school buddy whose family had moved to Cavalier Manor from Norfolk, where he spent most of his life. When Baba dropped out of school, he returned to Norfolk to live with his grandmother, who was too old and feeble to keep up with him. That's why he liked living with her. I thought life at Baba's grandma's house would be all fun and games. I figured we'd chase girls, hang out, and do whatever we wanted as often as we chose. But after a few days, it turned into a different vibe. Baba was satisfied sitting around the house all day watching TV, but I was too restless to sit still for that long. Plus, the comforts at Baba's grandma's house didn't match the comforts at home. In fact, there were no comforts at Baba's grandma's house. It was a drafty, one-story frame structure that reeked of kerosene and old folks' medication. I got homesick after several days and realized I wasn't yet the man I thought I was. One day, I left Baba watching soaps on TV and showed up at home unannounced. My stepfather came home from work and promptly took the belt to me. I was so glad to be back that I accepted the beating as his way of saving face. He could find me to my room for a while, but after I served my sentence, I returned to the block, contented with hanging with the boys. I was hanging on the corner with a bunch of other guys when two cats drove up in a convertible. Yo man, y'all want to ride with us? We hopped in and took off down the street. At 15, the driver was older than most of us. He and his family had recently moved into Cavalier Manor from Lincoln Park, a public housing project across town. That joyride was his way of introducing himself and getting acquainted with the rest of us. We pulled into the driveway of a filling station, pitched in money to buy gas, and took off again, joyriding through the city, cruising down the street. Frog Dickie asked, "Hey man, is this your folks' car?" The driver and his friend looked at each other and snickered, like they knew a joke that the rest of us weren't privy to. Nah, not. We rode downtown to Lincoln Park where the driver showed off his car to some girls and dudes he knew. We went to the Portsmouth City Park and profiled in front of people strolling through the fields. Then that cat drove to another neighborhood where we hollered at girls and asked their names. "Hey girl, let me have that phone number so I can call you sometimes." We had a good time cruising around showing off this convertible top down. It occurred to me that the driver probably didn't have a learner's permit, but I was having too much fun to be scared. We were hanging, riding around in a stolen car like we owned the world. Chapter 6, Trains. Another dude, when Nutbrain came through one day. Nutbrain, who was in high school when most of us were still in junior high, often stopped on our block to shoot the breeze and drop morsels of wisdom he picked up on the streets. He studied us slapboxing for a while, then shook his head sadly, as if he pitied us. Why you want to bruise your hands on some hard head when you could be somewhere? That's the only sweating I'm gonna do. Nutbrain commanded big respect on the block by virtue of his status as an established lover, a silver-tongued player who conquered women for sport, a mentor to young bloods who lived around my way. Nutbrain often came through nights after he had gotten over on some broad he'd been working on. If he had time and it was in a talking mood, he'd sit down on the curb with us and run down the details of his latest score from start to finish. When I slipped my hand in that blouse, she got hot as a firecracker. The fellas and I listened closely because we were curious about love and sex. I was shedding my shyness with girls, but had never done more than feel on some of them. Looking back, I realized that I knew absolutely nothing about sex when I started chasing girls. When it came to that topic, I was dumb as a brick. Nutbrain and other older heads eagerly pulled my coat to everything I wanted to know. They talked about things like beating your meat, busting the nut, getting some head. Practically everything was described in abusive terms. Even the whole intended sex. They said dudes should try to knock the bottom out of it and make her scream and stick fingernails in your back. One day when I mentioned that I seen a transparent fluid flowing from the tips of my thing, the older guy schooled me about what was happening to me. "Oh man, you ain't got nothing to worry about. That means your manhood is rising." And he slapped me on the back. "You's a mother man now, and you can get girls knocked up and stuff. Make sure you wear your raincoat when you bone them bras." I know now that a lot of what those cats told us was dead wrong, but since there was no one around refuting what they said because parents didn't talk about that, we accepted this gospel. A dude once warned fellas and me, "Don't ever smash no old chick. Old chicks give you worms. Old meat give you worms." They say that now. I believe that right up on to the time I was grown. Those corner conversations helped shape our views about women, love, and sex. The old head said there was no place for love in a real man's life. The pursuit of women was a macho game. The object was to get what you can without giving love. If a guy was able to do that, he won the game. If he fell for a babe, developed genuine feelings for her, he lost. Whenever one of the fellas acted like he was down for a heartfelt monogamous relationship, the old heads made him feel that he should be ashamed of himself. Oh, you falling in love? You weak. Which is funny. Why you should talk to your kids. They got questions. And you don't want them learning from peers, because peers will lie to you. Because they don't know either. According to the street wisdom, there were two types of females. There were women, such as your mother, sister, and teacher, and the others were bees and hoes. All females who didn't fall into that first category. Bees and hoes were good for one thing, boning. It didn't matter that bees and hoes were somebody else's mother, sister, or daughter, as long as they weren't your relatives or relatives of your hanging buddy. They were fair game. On our grading scale, girls' attractiveness was linked closely to their complexion. Red bones, light-skinned women who look almost white were considered the most desirable. Deep, dark women got dogged to death. And white women, of course, were viewed as the ultimate catch. It's our... I'm going to call my barber Gray Boy Killer. Because he cuts so many white people's hair. It didn't even cross my mind to talk to my parents about love and sex, because they wouldn't have. Beyond his occasional comments about the virtues of hard work, my stepfather never held facts of life conversations with my brother and me. I doubt he would have known how to approach the topic of sex. My mother would have seemed the person most likely to run it down. Her whole life had been shaped by costly experiences with teenage sex. That's why she is not the person. Because her ideas are based on trauma, right? Trauma advice doesn't help you. You know what I mean? So, she met and started dating my blood brother's father in the summer of 1949 in a tiny North Carolina town. She was 13 and he was an 18-year-old high school dropout. After my mother got pregnant with Billy, she lied about her age and married my father with 3 young children and half a man. Once she and my father split, she faded completely out of our lives. I never saw him again until I was grown. You would have thought that after all she went through, my mother would preach to us about the dangers of moving too fast, but she didn't. I think she was too embarrassed because she was a woman and we were boys. Once, when I was about 10, I asked her, "Mama, where do babies come from?" Sweeping her hand from her breast area down to her thigh, she said, "From down there." I didn't understand, so I asked again, "Where?" She swept her hands across the front of her body again, "Down there." It was clear that the question made her uneasy, so I let it drop. That was the last time my mama and I ever came close. I remember the conversation me and my mother had about sex, and it was pretty much, it's the only thing she told me. Use your condoms. And you and I know sex is much more than condoms. You feel me? Oh, God. So I can imagine if I'd asked her where babies come from down there. By the time I was 13, I felt pressure by all the bravado around me to get some conquest, literally under my belt. And I'm going to tell you something. Because when I was 13, I felt that pressure too. And I remember when I had it, I ain't have it at 13. When I actually did it, man, come to find out, most of the people are lying. So it's the part of this story that he doesn't know. Most of these people lying. They making it up. Most of us were still unexperienced. I could tell by the way they talked about that the other fellas also felt pressed. Eventually, several of us lucked out with the same girl. Her name was Sharon, and her family had recently moved into the neighborhood. We discovered her just as her body was shedding that soft girlishness and beginning to take on a womanly shape and form. Sharon was easy, but no one got anywhere with her if she didn't want them to. She could rumble like a man, and she had an older brother who could fight too. So I went around there when I knew her big brother was away and tried to catch her in a willing mood, which was most of the time. Sharon was dark as night. I'm convinced to this day that she gave herself up so readily because her dark skin affected her self-esteem. The fellas and I constantly talked about sharing when we were together. In our moments apart, we slipped to her house and tried to get in some petting time with her alone. One night, after she had gotten a job babysitting for a neighbor, I went there expecting to get some kisses and grinds and ran into Holt, one of my boys. Holt was the first to score. Then, on another night, she finally broke me in. By the end of that summer, Sharon had turned several of us out and launched us in on our way to becoming serious hounds. Okay. One night, some dudes from another section of the neighborhood came rushing past our block while we were hanging out. We called, "Yo man, where y'all going?" One of them yelled, "There's a train at Crystal Lake." I knew what a train was. It was what happened when a bunch of guys got together and jammed the same girl. The white boys called it gangbanging. The fellas and I went running back there with the other dudes to watch. There in the dark seclusion of the woods, I saw a parked car with the rear doors open and a woman's legs was propped up on top of the rear seat and a pair of man's legs gyrating, held tightly together with some pants rolled down, hung partly out the door. Standing in the car, I supervised the lineup, was Scooby D, the dude I had to worship at Waters. I could see that flaming red afro moving around about 20 to 30 guys milled about, talking trash, smoking cigarettes, passing the wine bottle, and waiting for their turn. The fellas and I didn't think about trying to get in on the train. We were scared of Scoob and were half grateful he let us stand back there and watch. We just wanted to see what it was all about. Once we got the idea, we knew it was something we had to try. It's terrible. Scoob and his boy trained anybody they can get their hands on, with no teeth in their mouth. Pearl got wasted at all hours of the day and night and staggered through the streets. Boy, them dirt dollars, we call them. You can't say no to nothing, bro. You better start saying no to something, man. You better learn that. I see you sincerely. I appreciate you. I'm glad you jumped on. I don't know, but I gave my cousin your contact. I got her son is playing basketball down here, and he had some stuff that she was trying to get some herbs. So if you get a call from Colette, she gonna say my name, then you know it's me. Pretty black girl, I seen you join, so I appreciate you. Scooby and his gang caught her stumbling by one night and trained her in a wooded area behind the 7-Eleven. I heard recently that Pearl died, but I doubt she ever knew she was trained. That's how tore down, sloppy drunk she'd get. She had 2 nice, respectable daughters my age. Every time I saw them in school, I'd wonder what they'd think if they knew their money had been jammed by teenage boys. Different groups of guys set up their own trains. Although everybody knew it could lead to trouble with the law, and it does, I think a few guys thought of it as rape, because it is. It was viewed as a social thing among hanging partners, just like passing a joint. The dude who set up the train got pats on the back. He was considered a real player and whose rap game was strong. I think most girls gave in when trains were sprung on them because they went to shock. They were so utterly unprepared for anything that wild that it freaked them out. By the time they realized with a crowd of crazed-looking dudes hovering overhead, I always wondered what went on inside girls' heads when that was happening to them. Afterwards, most girls were too ashamed and freaked out to tell. They knew that if they snitched to the cops, the thing would become public news and their name would be mud. They were definitely raping girls. But every now and then, some chick squealed and somebody caught a charge. Then guys got their buddies to go to court and testify that the girl was a footloose whom they had boned. Most of the girls seemed to lose something vital inside of them after they'd been trained. Their self-esteem dropped, and they didn't care about themselves anymore. That happened to a girl named Shirley who was once trained by Scoob and many of the guys, and that she was hospitalized. You hear me? After that, I guess she figured nobody wanted her as a straight up girl, so surely let guys run train on her all the time, which is wild. I won't stop there. Let me see. I read a little more. It is 8:04, so. It was the first day of summer vacation. I was 14 years old and had just completed the 8th grade, marking the end of my junior high school days. I was sitting at home watching TV when the telephone rang. Hello, I said. Yo, Nate, this Lep. Yo, Lep, what's up? We got one. She fat as a mug, too. When I got to Turkey Buzz's place a few blocks away, Bimbo, Frog, Dickie, Shane, Lep, Cooter, almost the whole crew, about 12 guys in all, were already there, grinning and joking like they had stolen something. Actually, they had stolen something. They were holding a girl captive in a black beauty whose family had recently moved into our neighborhood less than 2 blocks from where I lived. She seemed like a nice girl. When I first noticed her walking to and from school, I had wanted to check her out. Now it was too late. She was about to have a train run on her. No way she could be somebody's straight up girlfriend after going through a train. Vanessa was 13 years old and very naive. She thought she had gone to Turkey Buzz's crib just to talk with somebody she had a crush on. A bunch of the fellas hid in closets and under bed. Oh, they were definitely SAing women. When she stepped inside and sat down, they sprang from their hiding places and blocked the door so that she couldn't leave. When I got there were 2 or 3 dudes in the back room trying to persuade her to give it up. The others were pacing about in the living room, joking, arguing about the lineup and who would go first. Half of them were fronting, pretending they were. That's how everybody else was acting. I went back to the room and joined the other dudes trying to persuade Vanessa to let us jam her. She wouldn't cooperate. She said she was a virgin. That forced us to get somebody to play a crazy man role, act like he was going to off her if she didn't give it up. That way she'd get scared and give in. Yeah, they was wildin'. That's how the older boys did it, and that's why they caught charges. We figured it worked for us. Let played the heavy. He started talking loud enough for her to hear. His eyes got wide like Muhammad Ali's used to do when he was talking trash. As guys pretended to hold Let back, he struggled wildly like he was fighting to get in that room. If she don't give me something, she ain't never leaving this house. Frog played the good guy, acting like he was fighting to hold Let off. Come on, man, let that girl go. She said she ain't want to do nothing, so you can't make her. In the ruckus, Turkey Buzzer stood over a deathly silent Vanessa as she sat on the bed, horrified, looking at the doorway where the stage struggle was going on. Buzzer talked soothingly to Vanessa, trying to convince her that then the rest of us would be satisfied, then we'll let you go. But if you don't let at least one of us do it, then them other dudes gonna get mad and they ain't gonna want to let you leave. Lep is crazy. We can't keep holding them off like that. If we let them come in this room, it's gonna be all over for you. Vanessa seemed in a daze, like she couldn't believe what was happening to her. She looked up at Buzzard, glanced at the doorway, then looked back at Buzzard. And I stood off to the side studying her. I could see the wheels turning in her head. She knew she was cornered. She had never been in a situation like this before, and she didn't have a clue how to handle herself. I could tell by the way she kept looking at Buzzard, searching his face for something she could trust, that she was on the verge of cracking. She had to trust Buzzard. There was really no choice. It was either that or risk having a crazy Let burst into the room and pounce on her like he was threatening to do. I could see her thinking about it, adding things up in her mind, trying to figure out if there was something she could do or say to get herself out of this jam. Then a look of resignation washed over her face. It was a sad, fearful look. She looked so sad that I started to feel sorry for her. Something in me wanted to reach out and do what I knew was right. Do what we all instinctively knew was right. Lean down, grab Vanessa's hand, and lead her from that room and out that house, walk her home, and apologize for a temporary lapse in sanity. Tell her, try as best as possible to forget any of this happened. But I couldn't do that. It was too late. It was our first train together as a group. All the fellas were there. Everybody was anxious just to show everybody else how cool and worldly he was. If I jumped in on Vanessa's behalf, they would have accused me of falling in love. They would have sent word out on the block that when it came to girls, I was a wimp. Everybody would be talking at the basketball court about how I caved in and got soft for a chick. There was no way I was going to put that pressure on myself. I thought, Vanessa got her stupid self into this. She got to get herself out. Turkey Buzzard put his hand on her shoulder and said, "What you going to do, girl? You going to let one of us do it?" Vanessa's eyes filled with waters. Her lips parted momentarily as she intended to speak, but no words came out. Instead, she swallowed hard, nodded her head up and down, and indicated that she give in. That's terrible. I don't even know how you can do it. That she start crying like that, bro. You too, man. Slowly, she lay back on the bed, like Buzzer told her, closed her eyes tight. Moving quickly, Buzzer slipped her pants off, and he grabbed the waistbands of her panties. She rolled up suddenly and grabbed his hands as if she changed her mind. She gripped his hand tight for a second, looking pleadingly into his eyes. Then she turned and looked at Frog and me as if she wanted one of us to come and rescue her. I looked away. Buzzer said, almost in a whisper, "Come on, girl, it's going to be all right. It'll be over in a minute." Sitting upright, Vanessa searched his face again, then released his hand, lay back on the bed, and cupped her hands over her eyes. By then, the fellas in the living room had grown quiet. They knew she was about to give in, and the sense of anticipation and fear rose. Some guys, curious, crept in the doorway and kneeled low so they couldn't see them peeping into the room. Others stayed in the living room, smiling and whispering amongst themselves. "Buzzer got her pants off. He got her pants." I don't remember who went first, was there to climb on top. Guys crowded into the room and hovered wide-eyed around the bed like gawkers at a zoo. Then another went and another until the line of guys climbing on and off of Vanessa became blurred. After about the fifth guy had gone, I still hadn't taken my turn. I could have gone before them, but I was having a hard time mustering the heart to make a move. I was in no great hurry to have sex in front of a bunch of other dudes, which is the problem. Which is a problem, not the problem. This story has multiple problems. The whole scene brought my mind to a day a few years earlier when I was sitting on the gym bleachers at my junior high school watching an intramural basketball game. Scooby D and some older hoods came and sat near me. At one point, Scoob got on the other dude's case for failing to make a move on a girl who had given him some play. I'll never forget it. Scoob stood up and said and announced loudly to the rest of the guys, "That mofo scared." The other dude hung his head in shame. While hovering near Vanessa, I remember how Scoob disgraced that guy. I wasn't about to let that happen to me. I tried to relax and free my mind. I knew I couldn't get an erection if I wasn't relaxed. That would be even more embarrassing. I didn't want to pull my meat out unless I had an erection. It would look so small. Somebody might see it shriveled up and tiny and start laughing, imitating some of the others in the room. I took one hand and cuffed it between my legs, caressing my meat, trying to coax it hard so I could pull it out and proudly take my turn. Then Lep said, "Nate, have you gone yet?" I said, "Nah, man, I'm getting ready to go now." I moved forward, my heart pounded like crazy. So crazy that I feared somebody looked close enough that they could see it beating against my frail chest. I thought, it's my turn. I gotta go now. As several other guys hung around nearby, I went and stood over Vanessa. She was stretched out forlornly on the bed with a pool of semen running between her legs. She stayed silent and kept her hands cupped over her eyes like she was hiding from a bad scene in a horror movie. With my pants still up, I pulled my zipper down, slid on top of her, and felt the sticky stuff flowing from between her legs. Half a wreck, I fumbled nervously and placed myself into a wetness and moved my body pretending to grind hard. After a few miserable minutes, I got up and signaled for the next man his turn. While I was straightening my pants, I said, "Yeah, man, it was good. Actually, I felt sick and unclean. That is nasty." After the last man had taken his turn, Vanessa got up, put on her pants, and went to the bathroom, holding her panties balled up in her hands. She came out and stood in the living room waiting for somebody to sitting on the floor or wherever else we could find a spot. Vanessa looked solemnly around the room at each of us, with her down the street. I felt sorry for Vanessa, knowing she would never be able to live that down. I think some of the other guys felt sorry too, but the guilt was short-lived. It was eclipsed in no time by our victory celebration we held after she left. We burst into cheers and slapped fives with each other like we played on the winning baseball team. We joked about who was scared, who was small, who didn't know how to put it in. Everybody had a story to tell. Beamish couldn't even get his thing hard. He had to go in the corner and beat his meat. Did you see that bed sink when Bimbo climbed his big elephant butt up there? I thought he was going to crush that poor girl. She acted like she ain't even want to grind when I got on it. I had to teach her how to grind. That train on Vanessa was definitely a turning point for most of us. We weren't aware of what it symbolized at the time, but that train marked our real coming together as a gang. It certified us as a group of hanging partners who would do anything and everything together. Alliances by rumbling together in the gang wars against a group of up-and-coming young cats with distinct identity in a specific portion of Cavalier Manor that we intended to stay claimed as our own. After that first train, we perfected the art of luring birds, babes into those kind of traps. We ran the train and we set up one at Lep's place and even let his little brother get in on it. He couldn't have been more than what he saw us do, and in the same way, we copied the older hoods we'd admire. One night, when I was sitting at home by myself thinking about it, it occurred to me that whole notion of running trains was weird as hell. It is quasi-gay. Even though it involved sex, it didn't seem like y'all learned about sexual violence. Using a member of one of the most vulnerable groups of human beings on the face of this earth, black females, it was another way for a guy to show other fellas how cold and hard he was. It wasn't until I became an adult that I figured out how utterly confused we were. I realized that we thought we loved sisters, but that we actually hated them. Deeper than we realized, we hated the hell out of ourselves. I didn't understand it at that time. I don't think any of us understood. But by then, we had started doing a whole lot of crazy things that we didn't understand. All right, family, I'm gonna stop right there. Like I said, I think we got the music working again, so whoop, 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 whoop. I mean, got the mic working again, so hopefully you heard me. If not, lo siento. I hope to see you Tuesday as we finish Innocence Lost. If I don't see you Tuesday as we finish Innocence Lost, I hope to see you next Thursday for book club. Have a fantastic weekend and stay safe, family. Let's see if this works.
Break the Gotti, I'm thinking godly, God guard me from the ungodly. But by my 30th, watching the streets is watching, I was back to giving props again, and that was bothering. But it's uncomfortable as the untouchable touching you. The theme songs that niggas hustle to seem wrong, but these songs was coming true, and it was all becoming cool. I found a condom on the ground that Johns were coming to, and thought what constitutes a prostitute is the pursuit of profit. Then they drop it, the homie in a suit, pat her on the butt, then rocket. It seems I was seeing the same scene, adopted, prevalent in different things, with the witnesses indifferent to stop it. They said don't knock it, mind your business. His business is a mind, and that nigga pimpin' got it. They took my daughter, we ain't got no water. I can't get higher, that cross on fire. We all got suspended, I just got sentenced, so I got no place to go. They threw down my gang sign, I ain't got no hang time. Talk about my sneakers, poisoned our leader. My father ain't seen me, turn off my TV, cause it hurts me so. So through the Grim Reaper, sickle sharpening, Macintosh marketing, all you feel arguing, Brazilian adolescent disarmament, Israeli occupation, Islamic martyrdom, imprecise. Yeah, laser guided targeting oil for full bartering. Terrorist organization harboring, saying camouflage army men. CCF sponsoring, world conquering, telephone monitoring, Louis Vuitton modeling, pornographic actress honoring, string theory pondering, bulimic vomiting, Catholic priest fondling, preemptive bombing, and Osama and Obama and them. They breaking in my car again, deforestation and overlogging in Hennessy and hypnotic swallowing, hydroponic coughing in. All the world's ills, sitting on chrome 24-inch wheels like that. They say I'm infected, this is why I injected. I had it aborted, we got deported. Molotov got spot with that I can't lie here, but I got no place to go. I can't stop